You're listening to the Superman Super Show, episode number 31, Europe at War, Part 1. Hello and welcome to the Superman Super Show. I'm a host. My name is Steeven. And 1,000 miles over there to my right is another host, Mr. Ed Moore.
Howdy, folks. Damn fine to be here.
So this is our banter segment. And
banter.
We know, because we're starting to get to be old pros at the banter. And we know we've got the book that tells us what we should talk about. So subject number one, how's the weather over there?
It just turned to winter.
Yep, same with us.
Been hovering just above freezing for the past 3 or 4 days. Today was particularly nasty. It was a little bit warmer, like 35, 36, but it rained like buckets all day long. So that always seems to make it feel colder.
That's kind of what it's done here. We had a light snow overnight, and then it's just been wet today because of it. So, yeah.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, we haven't really gotten any. If we have gotten snow, it snowed and then just blew away real quick or anything. It's not been anything any substantial at all. But yeah, it's just been cold and windy here. I
love the snow, but ever since our second winter here, maybe it was, when it froze and I stepped out on the porch one morning and said, those steps look fine. And slid off the porch. And we usually always have a thing of de-icer ready for the winter, but we don't have any right now, and I need to get some because it worries me.
Yeah, you better get some because the weather knows that you don't have any, and you're gonna get caught.
Well, we have a back door with no step. I could go out the back door that's on ground level, come around the house. I can do that if necessary, but that sounds like a lot of work. So, do you mind if I suggest a podcast real quick?
No, go ahead, man.
It actually ties into Superman. It's called Stealing Superman. I just wanted to throw this out there because I've been having a lot of fun with this podcast. It's a iHeartRadio original podcast. And here, I'll just read you the description real quick. It was the most unlikely art heist of all time. Join some improbable detectives and one determined comic book dealer as they investigate the mysterious theft of the most important comic in the world, a comic stolen from Nicolas Cage. And I think episode 4, for anybody watching live, episode 4 actually lands tomorrow. By the time this episode comes out, I don't know, I think if they go past 6 episodes, then episode 6 will land.
We'll be dropping.
It's a lot of fun. It's kind of like one of those true crime podcasts, but it's about Action Comics #1. And that wasn't the only book that got stolen from him that night. Apparently, there were a couple other books. I think Detective Comics 27 was taken as well, and
he's never found them.
I think somebody returned his Action Comics #1. I feel like I read that somewhere. I don't know. I'm trying to avoid spoilers.
Right. Spoilers.
Because I'm really having fun with the show. There's a lot of twists and turns and just learning how he just didn't really secure those comics very well. And it sounds like somebody came in during a party and just kind of walked out with them. They're displayed in these custom frames that do lock and have alarms on them, but apparently he likes to show them off, so he would leave them unlocked a lot. So yeah, it's a pretty fun podcast so far. If you're not listening, go check it out because it's a lot of fun. I'm really enjoying it.
Well, cool beans.
All right. Well, let's get into this book then. We are going to be talking about a little story called Europe at War, Part 1. And this appeared in Action Comics #22. It was written by Jerry Siegel, pencils by Joe Shuster, and inks by Paul Cassaday. Action Comics #22 has a cover date of March 1940, but according to Mike's Amazing World of Comics, link will be in the show notes, They show an approximate sale date of January 23rd, 1940. And let me tell you what happened in this story. And this is a synopsis that comes from Mike's Amazing World of Comics. A European army of Taurans, which totally fake. None of these countries are real. They invade the lesser nation of Galonia, igniting a war. Clark Kent and Lois Lane are sent to Europe as war correspondents. Aboard the steamer Baranta, Clark saves the life of a foreign actress, Lita Laverne, from an assassin. Later, Clark catches Lita engaging in espionage. Clark has a chance to speak with Lita at a reception after they reach Europe. The brief interview confirms Clark's suspicions, but the reception is interrupted by a raid conducted by a bomber. Clark, as Superman, deals with the plane and then follows Lita. He learns of a scheme to attack a neutral ship in order to bring the democracies to the side of the aggressor Taurans. Superman defeats the submarine and exposes the plot and Lita. Ed, what'd you think of this one?
This one was a little bit more grounded, a little bit more spy-y or spy-ish or whatever the adjective would be. Particularly than really the next three.
Yeah.
But also of a lot of the previous stories. I mean, he still did, some super stuff, but the story itself just seemed, I don't know, it just felt more grounded.
Yeah, I find it interesting that the last time we did this, the live show, we talked about 4 stories, and each story per episode got progressively better. And it's like by that last one, which is going to be episode 30, that story we were just having a ball with that story. And I think that's the same thing's going to happen tonight. Going from that would have been Action Comics 21 with the freaking the ultra humanite whose brain is in the body of a female famous actress and all that crazy stuff that happened in that issue. To go from that to this, it's almost a bit of a downer. Because this felt very pedestrian compared to the previous issue.
Just by itself. Just
Correct.
this story in a vacuum. Yes, you're right. Compared to just the one, if we had been reading these month over month, just last month's story, man. Yeah. And then this one, and you're like, oh, wow. But that's because this is the slow burn portion of a story that actually will continue over the next 3 installments. Yeah. So if starting here, things are going to ratchet up again over the next couple months, particularly since when Action comes out, it will come out in the same month as, I don't know, one of these 2 books. And so, you get all of that. And but just by itself, it's kind of a, wah, when you get done with it. Not bad.
Yeah, not bad.
But just in comparison.
It had some fun moments. I liked when Clark spied the assassin on the boat. He saw him with his supervision and takes him out by taking what are those things called? The pin off of the boat.
Pinion, let's see, right here, or here, a belaying
pin. And just freaking knocks the guy out of the crow's nest or wherever he was perched with his rifle. And I really like that. And I also found it funny, and we've talked about this before. Joe Shuster, when he's drawing women, the only way you can tell them apart is when he changes their hair color. And so when Clark bumps into Lita Laverne and he's like, oh, she looks very exotic. I'm like, no, she looks just like Lois, who's standing right next to you. Right. And there were times in this story that I'm like, is he talking to Lois? Or is he talking to Laverne? Because, the cuts between scenes, there were a lot of really quick scene cuts in this story, and all four of these that we're going to be talking about tonight.
Yeah. Let me jump in and say that this was probably drawn by Paul Cassidy.
Okay.
Not Schuster, from a lot of the stuff that I read.
Okay.
Not that changes what you're saying, because Cassidy does the same thing.
Yeah.
And something that I think I have noticed is that Paul Cassidy has this tendency in females, and it's very evident in this story, that the females in his world do not have a nose.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how that works, but Schuster typically has drawn, I think, the nose. I mean, the what is it? A tenth of a second more in the illustrating just to do something to, denote a nose. Yeah. Anyways, to put a nose on there. But yeah, all of these women in this story in particular, very, very little noses, if any.
So the one thing I did make a note about in regard to this story, currently you are tracking whenever we have a moment in a story where Superman hangs from a ledge is what we're looking for.
There's my list. Yeah.
But we're also counting times where he hangs from a building. It doesn't have to be like a ledge.
Hangs.
Yeah, if he's hanging from something.
Yeah.
Well, over the past week, I have been kind of going through all these stories. I've been pulling out panels and whatnot because I've been kind of redoing a lot of the episode artwork that goes on the website. And I found something that at first I thought was happening in like every other freaking issue. And then when I went back through them to get examples, I really actually only found 4. But I'm going to go ahead and start tracking this because it happens in this issue. There's a panel in this issue where Superman is standing alone and he's saying, "Someone's coming." That happens 3 other times in these Superman books before we get to this. The first time is in Action Comics number 14. The second time is during Superman and the Skyscrapers in Superman number 2. The third time is in Action Comics number 19. And then the fourth time is this time here. And in fact, I put a little graphic together. I don't know if it'll let me show it. It's not going to let me do it. Oh, well.
Here it is. Panel 74 when he's on the roof.
Yeah. So, but I had been going through and pulling out panels to put these different art for the website. And I kept running into this. It felt like I found like 19 of them. I kept running into these panels where he's going, "Someone's coming." And, but no, I only, when I went back through, I only found 4. But it's something that I'm going to keep an eye out for, and I'm going to start tracking him, and we'll probably never see it again.
It'll come up sometime. It'll be a placeholder. I was
really disappointed today when I went back through because I thought I was going to have this great thing, and it was like 4 times. Wah wah.
Yeah. I have a question about the very first panel, that opening splash panel.
Is that the one I'm thinking of? Yes.
What does dude whipping a dude have to do with this story?
Nothing at all. Yeah, that's happened in a lot of these. The opening splash panel. We had the one where the bridge was collapsing, and the elevated train, and he saved him, and then went into the story from there. But most of these have been nothing at all to do with. But
I don't know. This one just really stuck out to me.
It's a weird one.
I mean, it's like I don't know. Maybe it's pulled maybe from the newspaper strip or so. I don't know. But it's like, why do you have this piece of art laying around that you can put in here to use?
It's weird, because you can.
It's a World War II story,
and you almost don't notice Superman up there in the corner jumping because the figure of Superman is so small. And then the text box, this is the splash panel where they do the whole faster than a speeding bullet thing, but they have yet to condense that. And I'm sure it's probably the radio show or the TV show where they condense that. But this one actually has a moment, and I think they use the same text in the next issue as well. They're repeating themselves because it says, "Leaping over skyscrapers, running faster than an express train, and then springing great distances and heights. Well, we already got that from the jumping over the skyscrapers. You know, it's like they really want us to understand that he can jump far.
Right.
I just thought that was weird. Lifting and smashing tremendous weights. Yeah, I found that was weird too. I just kind of went, whoa, what's going on here? The dude's literally tied to a post and another guy's whipping him. And, you know, it could be a soldier from one army who has captured another soldier and is trying to
maybe, I don't know,
torture information out of him. But yeah, we don't always get in that panel what's, you know, any connection to the story itself. It's just like here's an exciting thing that Superman's doing while we describe how exciting Superman is.
All right. So as we're moving through here on the next page is where we get to, right? The next page. Yeah. The next page is where we get to your man being hit off the ropes, whatever he's holding on to by Clark throwing the belaying pin, knocks him into the ocean there. Yeah.
That was pretty awesome.
He's trying to get a beat on Laverne.
I love, I don't know if this is considered cruise wear, what he's wearing there with the plaid suit jacket and the white pants and the white vest. I mean, there's a dude behind him at one point that's almost wearing the exact same thing, except for his plaid jacket is green.
Now he's pretty done up because he's got a vest and a shirt and tie on.
Yeah.
And then later that evening, though, he eschews all that for just a dress shirt with a bow tie.
Yeah, I think he's wearing a tux.
More formal,
I guess.
He
might be wearing a tux because it's evening wear. That's his. That's his
here in the next panel below, where he first shows up in this blue outfit, you see it's a vest and a jacket, whereas in the first panel it looks just like a jacket. But he's got a vest and a jacket on.
Yeah, and he's always, you know, very typical of when you see movies set in this time. He's always walking around with his hands in his pockets with his jacket behind his hands. You know, this seems very typical of men from that time. You always saw them pacing with their hands in their pockets.
Now here in panel 24 is another scene of him dressing or undressing.
Yeah.
Here I guess he's dressing.
Yeah.
Putting clothes on over the Superman outfit.
Yep. Yeah, those are always funny. It's more funny when he's in his apartment and just casually lacing up one of his Superman boots to go out on patrol. I just find those panels funny.
Yep.
But really
just not a lot of outstanding or outstanding kind that makes it sound like I'm bagging on it, but I'm not. It's just it's very spy, World War II-ish, although it's not World War II, but it's emulating that with the bomber. Now, I will say the airplane, the bomber that they draw, and the submarine, I thought those were pretty well drawn.
And
you know, I don't.
The way he takes out that bomber is really actually pretty cool. You know, because he literally jumps into its path, grabs onto the wing, and then just sticks his hand in the propeller.
Yeah, just trashes one of the propellers.
It's pretty awesome.
And then it comes back after him, and that's where he grabs the wheel, and it almost looks like he pulls it down, but he just hangs on until it comes down. And when he can, once
he has his feet on the ground.
I'm not sure how that works because the airplane would still be moving.
I know.
He throws the airplane. Yeah. So, okay. Allow me to suspend disbelief here momentarily and read that. It just, you know, taking the submarine's own torpedo and waiting until it ran out of juice.
Yeah.
And then throwing it back rather than just turning it around. Yep. I mean, you know, all he had to do was turn it around and let it go. But no, he's like, no, I'll wait until it runs out and then I'll take it and fling it at the submarine.
Yeah, that's a funny looking sequence because he's literally riding the torpedo like a bucking bronco. He has the one hand in the air, like a a rodeo guy would, and then when it stops, he's just casually sitting on it. Like he's drinking tea.
Hey, that's kind of a big spectator sport out your way, isn't it?
It can be, yeah. We have the American Royal in
Rodeos?
Kansas City every year.
Okay.
And in fact, it's I don't know if they still do it, but each whatever year in grade school it was, 3rd, 4th grade, each of my kids, there was a field trip that year and we always went with them because.
Oh, to that?
Yeah,
cool.
There was a thing that would happen beforehand where we'd go to all these different exhibits and talk about milking cows and.
Okay.
And there was always one setup where they had a dog that would, like a sheepdog, and it would corral up a bunch of
herd
ducks
animals
and chickens and stuff. It was really neat. It was really neat to watch.
Cool. Okay. Now, is Kansas? Is it a big enough? Is rodeo big enough in Kansas that it is like a letter varsity activity at colleges? Some of the different events.
I don't know. It's
okay.
If it is, it's not something that. I mean, there's a church outside of town that is like literally a rodeo church because they have, it's a freaking church, but they have a big rodeo pen and
next to it. Okay.
I don't know what rodeo has to do with worshiping God, but there's somehow they make that connection and they've made a church out of it, but it's not something that I'm aware of as far as culturally kind of a big thing. I'm sure my kids probably know some kids that they went to high school with that maybe were really into it, but it never got
I know there is a collegiate circuit, but I'm not sure where exactly in the country it is and what universities are involved.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's around here. It's got to be because of
definitely not to disparage. Because I enjoy watching it. The roping events and the cutting horse where they ride and they go real close around the barrel and
as close to the barrel as they can without touching it. Yeah, that's really neat.
Yeah. Now others like the riding the bronco or riding the steer. Those are entertaining to a point, but that's
they basically have something wrapped around their freaking jewels that
the male organs there and it's like you would too.
When we did go to the American Royal, we did the thing. There was always a thing during the first part where again we would go around and learn different agricultural type things, but then it always ended with like a school level rodeo events, and so there were kids from. Not, somewhere outside of Kansas, but there were kids locally that I didn't know any of them, but from grade school to high school that were competing in this. So, it's just not something that since my kids aren't involved in it, I have no idea how big it might or might not be.
Now, those aspects that you're describing of the more educational aspects of that trip, that sounds very similar to what we do over here, akin to 4-H.
Yeah, we got 4-H around here too. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's more the kind of stuff that the kids do over here at 4-H, seeing actual hands-on kind of aspects of whatever the type of culture is that they're wanting to pass on to the kids.
4-H has always been big around here. In fact, the county that we live in, there's a 4-H fairgrounds, and they would have the county fair every year, and there's a small comic book convention that happens in one of the buildings on the 4-H fairgrounds every year.
Cool.
So,
okay. Yeah. Okay, well, guys, that is our 4-H talk for this episode.
Yes,
thanks for tuning in. And so we are just about at the end of this story, I believe. Yeah, after the submarine is destroyed, that's pretty much the end of it because you have a panel here that has the Spectre in it. And this is not a Spectre book.
Right. I do like here, though, I had to go back and read it to because I almost kind of glossed over it there on the last page, because he takes out that submarine and then it's like suddenly he's throwing something off the boat that explodes. And I was like, I missed something here. No, he spies a freaking sea mine out in the ocean, and he grabs up a lifeboat and throws it at the mine, and the mine explodes. I thought that was kind of cool too.
Kind of out of nowhere, but I guess that's just trying to emphasize the state of war.
Yep.
I mean, we've had bombers, we've had submarines, and now we have mines. Yep. So,
but yeah, I mean, it's like you said, it's a good knowing what's coming next. The next 3 stories that all kind of tie in together to a certain extent, Yeah. Taken by itself, it was.
Yeah.
It's very strange how this Superman really kind of walks back and forth between, especially at this time, because, for the first 15, 16 issues of Action Comics, it was very, mob, racketeering, that kind of stuff. And then the Ultra Humanite comes in, and it still takes a couple of appearances from the Ultra Humanite before it just kind of gets really like almost hardcore sci-fi.
Right.
And now it's like he's stepping back and forth between in this issue a war story. And then eventually we get back into some really hardcore sci-fi again. And so, yeah, I'm finding that when I start an issue and realize, oh, this is a war story or just a mob story, it's I'm not as excited anymore. I just when they just really dive into that sci-fi stuff, it's so good. It's so fun.
Well, now I will say this story and the next one are apropos for the month of November because November is the informally titled War Comics Month.
Yeah.
So
okay,
we're participating.
All right, there we go. This is our. We should get a participation medal.
Well, yeah, everybody does nowadays, but that's neither here nor there.
All right. Well, anything else you want to say about this one?
No, sir. I'm good.
All right, let's wrap it up then. I want to thank everyone for listening to this episode of the Superman Super Show. If you want to drop us a line, ask us a question, or just provide some feedback in general, you can send an email to thesupermansupershow@gmail.com. You can also find us over on Twitter under the handle @SupesSuperShow. Come join the fun over at the forum at forum.justanotherfanboy.com. All that's in the show notes. So it's, just grab it there. It's all there. So until next week, folks, my name is Steven and that's Ed. And this was the Superman Super Show.
Bye.
Sha-la-la-la. I don't know what that meant.
Superman is a copyrighted feature appearing in Action Comics magazine.